Welcome to the Popcorn Talk Network, for the online broadcast network that features movie discussion, news, and interviews. Press 1. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Let those who worship evil's might beware my power. Green Lantern's light.
From the Popcorn Talk Network, the online broadcast network for movie talk, and the schmoes know, this is DC Movie News, bringing you the most up-to-date discussion and commentary within the DC Universe.
Kryptonite be damned, everybody. Welcome to the DC Movie News Show right here on the Popcorn Talk Network. It's a big day for us here on the show. Let's get right to the introductions. We will not waste a single second because we're getting right into it. I'm Jonny Loquasto, at JQuasto on Twitter. Find us at DC Movies SK, Facebook.com/DC Movies SK. This lady right here, she's the pride of Beantown. She also is wearing a pretty awesome set of overalls.
I mean, overalls, get over it.
She's got red teeth thanks to that lovely Superman cupcake. Shout out to the Marvel crew for that. Find her on Twitter at Roxy Striar. She is none other than Roxy Striar.
I am. Hello. Happy to be back. I missed you guys, and we will talk some DC today, but we have more important things to get to.
We do. We have two Supermen in this room right now. That guy right there, he is the host of Man vs. Child on the FYI network every Wednesday evening. Every Thursday evening.
That's today. That's okay.
Also, also FX Movie Download. You can find him on Twitter at Adam Gertler. He's Adam Gertler.
That's fine. I'll take any plug, even if it's for the wrong day. It might be on Wednesday, too. They've been re-airing the show a lot, so
FYI is going to air it a lot.
But let's get to the real guest of the day.
Let's get to the real.
Do you want to bring him in Australia?
That's right. That's right.
Do you want to bring him in? Should we bring him in together? What should we do?
Oh, okay. Well, I've been a fan of this guy for a long time. We met actually at a Comic-Con last year, and then I kept seeing you at Comic-Con because you're about 6'5" and you're hard to miss.
Is it seeing or stalking? I mean,
It's a little bit of both. You see him on Collider Movie Talk, on Collider Heroes. He's the author, director of The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, a great film which we're going to talk about.
Editor,
producer, so much more. Jon Schnepp is here.
Hey, what's going on, everybody?
And the crowd goes wild.
The crowd is screaming.
He's doing double duty today. He was just on Marvel. I was watching that show, stalking their chat roll.
Yeah.
And so thanks for sticking around. You got a full day today.
I have so much fun. I'm a super nerd, so it's always fun to talk about all comics. And I was like, I'm glad I'm doing Marvel and DC. You know, we're covering both spectrums.
And we purposely turned off all air conditioning just so we can get sweaty as possible.
And also, you wore a DC shirt on Marvel, which I respect. And also, now we're all best friends because we share this ring. We share a ring.
Power ring.
I think it's very cool. On Heroes, you talk about all things: Marvel, DC, Image, Impact, Valiant, whatever. You don't discriminate. And you also, other people, I always tell them to listen to your show because you turn people on to good things. Like I got 100 Bullets based on your recommendation.
Nice.
And then last week we're talking about Tom Hardy on, possibly in the movies.
I watched Warrior this morning, by the way. Oh my God, I have a whole new thing for Tom Hardy.
You just saw it?
I hadn't seen it yet.
Amazing, right?
Oh my God.
Those fights, he's like Ronda Rousey fights, basically.
Yeah.
The best. I can't ruin it for anyone.
Shout out to Kurt Angle. Didn't say a word, but he looked damn good in that movie.
So I thought it would be cool. Before we get to the news, I'd just like to talk a little bit about your film because it is very DC
Let's
specific.
talk a lot about his film.
The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened is a documentary about a film that got really far in the development process and never happened. You've been working on this film for how long?
We just finished it in May, so it was like 2.5 years almost exactly from the point of inception when I was like, I want to make a film about this. And, I'd never made a documentary before, and I figured running it on Kickstarter. I already made a ton of stuff. I'd already made like almost 14 years of regular television, so I felt like I feel confident trying to do this, and I just wanted to see if other people were into the idea. So it was a successful Kickstarter, so I started trying to make it.
And the inception was at Meltdown Comics?
Yeah, it was at Meltdown Comics. I went to go see the DeAntword. They were there and just there to talk about their music videos. And sitting right next to me was Steve Johnson, who was the guy who built those special effects suits. And someone else was like, hey, you're the guy who makes Def Clock. This is the guy who made Slimer. You guys should meet. So we just started talking about stuff. And then I recognized him. He went to use the bathroom or something. I Googled him, and I was like, saw those Superman suits pop up. And he sat down next to me. I was like, hey, you made those Superman suits. And he was like, got a weird look on his face, like he didn't want to talk about it. Felt embarrassed. So I was like, I'm sorry, So later, me and Holly went across the street and had dinner over at Toy with a bunch of our friends. And that just came up. I was like, yeah, I just met Steve Johnson. And then I started telling them that I had been collecting artwork, anything that was online for like the last like 5 years. Every couple months, I'd just do a search for Superman Lives concept art because it intrigued me. And it was after Superman Returns came out, and I was really disappointed with that film because I thought the idea of an homage to Richard Donner would have been cool, but then when I saw it, I realized...
On paper, we all loved that film. We all loved that we were going to have the John Williams music.
Yeah.
It seemed like Bryan Singer, it seemed like it made perfect sense, and that's probably why it didn't work.
Well, because it wasn't anything new. Because it was the same exact... There's the Fortress of Solitude that you saw when you were a kid. Here's the same Lex Luthor trying to buy land again.
Yeah, exactly.
Same exact story tropes.
Except also sleeping with old women in a weird way.
Kryptonite doesn't affect him. He's lifting a kryptonite plant, like rock, and everything. There was no action. So, I mean, all these elements that were just missing from it made me want to see a different version of Superman. And being a comic book fan, I'm totally cool with different iterations. I'm cool with like Elseworlds, and to me, movies are Elseworlds to comic books. It's comic books first. When somebody makes an adaptation of a comic book, whether it's Marvel or DC or anything, if I love the comic, that I already have it. I don't need it to be anything. I don't like,
absolutely. It's
just a plus for me. You know, right. I like original anything. So if they're making adaptations, I think for myself, they've been really successful doing a ton of Marvel adaptations. But DC, I think Zack Snyder hit it out of the park with Watchmen. I mean, you know, a lot of people can complain about the squid, but it's like, sorry, they didn't have 4 hours to take you to this mystery island with artists and all this other. Like, so it's such a dense book that you can't possibly like put it all together. So I thought they did a really good job.
I was really happy with the visual depiction of Watchmen. What I always say about Watchmen is, if you were a fan of it, it's a great compendium to that. I don't know that it made too many fans of Watchmen who weren't familiar with it.
Right.
And we talk about this a lot. We're so excited to see that kind of action when you see the Rorschach fight, when you see the opening fight with the comedian like that. I've been thinking about that in terms of Batman since he was announced that he was doing this film, this Batman v Superman.
Right.
So that's what we're so excited to see. You were going to say something, Roxy?
Well, I was just going to say that I, first of all, loved your film. I know that we all did across the board. And I didn't know how badly I wanted a movie to be made until you made your doc about it. Right. I'm so, now I'm sad. You actually made me upset. I didn't know I wanted something so much.
That was my goal.
But I did want to ask you, because I think it's so incredible what you did and how you reserved judgment on these people, because some of them, in my opinion, were a little... not up my alley.
I'm just going to ask
not up my alley.
When you were sitting there with John Peters,
right?
Could you feel the insanity coming off of him?
You know, I'll be completely honest. I really like Jon Peters. Like,
you stayed so calm.
He's a really fun guy. He's a really nice guy. And I mean, so many people are influenced by, you know, the story that Kevin Smith told, just like myself. Like, you know, about, you know, his screenplay and the, you know, he went on tour with that like 10 years ago. And he told me that literally the same story, but then with a bunch of added extra stuff. My interview with him was fantastic. And Jon Peters was the very last person to be added. My producer, Holly Payne, she's also my fiance, but she became a really integral part of working with me and Marie Hamora, the editor, where we literally, for like the last 12 months of the production, were just sitting in front of the editing room and finding connections and ways to make the thing flow. Because
so Jon Peters was after. Well, I guess that makes sense because you actually put to him a lot of things that you get from other interviews from Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
And it's particularly interesting because a lot of us are familiar with, you know, An Evening with Kevin Smith, which is kind of when he started this whole thing, when he started doing his spoken word, his tours, which led to the Smodco and all that. So we've heard one side of this story for 10 years. And with this movie, what your movie does is for the first time, and it's amazing the capitulation that you were able to get from all the people involved in this film.
Just opposites, really.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was, and to get back to Jon Peters, so I was reticent to talk with him because after interviewing a lot of the production artists, they had a lot of beefs with him. They didn't, you know, and you realize, like, in the production of any kind of media, there's all this, it's a hierarchy. There's all these different, like, here you have your pit crew, your artists, they're all working together. Then you have these, everything is separated. You know, when you're shooting live action, the actors, and they're all in their own world, and they're on set, and they're only talking with really, literally, the producers and the writer and the director. And everyone else is like, you're not supposed to talk to them, you're not even supposed to look at them. There's this kind of built-in hierarchy, just so that everything works smoothly, and, you know, because you're on a, you know, you want to, if everyone's just hanging out joking and stuff, you're not making a film.
Right.
So it's like there's reasons those hierarchies exist, but within the you know, the bigger budget and more, you know, super hierarchies, you have these kinds of things where you have mega producers. And Jon Peters is from the old school mega producing, where he would just come in and be like, I want to make this movie, I'm meeting with you, I want you to make this, I want you to put these 5 things in, sprinkle this in, and then you do your thing, I'll come back. Because he's making like 20 movies. So he's checking in, flying around. You see what I'm saying? It's a little different. And when you've done that for 10 or 15 years and you're hyper successful, I think there's certain things that change within your personality and certain things that aren't in the in the movies. Like, hey, I was a different guy back then. Everyone, things that he did back then, he probably feels not so great about. But talking with him, I could tell why he wanted a giant spider. It made total sense to me.
Okay.
Like you can make sense of if you're a comic book.
You mean
person,
a snare beast?
Yes. As a comic book fan, you'd be like, why? There's so many other villains he could fight. Why come up with this giant spider? But from where he was coming from, which is in the movie, he's talking about like 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea.
Yeah.
He's already fought a bunch of humans. He fought General Zod. Then he fought, the Nuclear Man. I mean, that's where we were at that time.
Man.
10 years ago, the franchise was destroyed. So he got the rights back, and he was like, I don't want him to fight another
even
human.
that story is fascinating, too. Like, how could Warner have lost the rights to their own... their marquee character.
It's incredible.
It's not crazy because we live in this different world now. Back then, even like 20, 30 years ago, comic books were a joke. And in fact... No, you could have asked somebody what they thought of Batman the day before Tim Burton's Batman came out, and they would have been like, Adam West. It's a jokey, it's goofy and stupid, and it's for children. The day before the Batman movie came out, and then because if you're a comic book fan, you're a really, really, really small minority of people who read comics. And that's just how it's been for like the last 40 years. It's gotten smaller now, but we've gotten a bigger group of people who like the superhero movies, but they've never ever read any comic books. So that's just how it is.
Going back to what you said about the fact that he is from the old school way and he would say, you do this, and this. But he's claiming he didn't say those things. He's saying, listen, I never said that. Whatever Kevin's saying that I said, I didn't do that.
Who do you believe on that? Because Kevin Smith says he said no suit and no flying, and John Peters is like,
of course you have to have a suit and flying.
So that's a weird...
I think it's a little bit of both. I think it's like, I'm feeling that he probably did say, I want him to jump around, I don't want to see him fly. But then after you look, because I don't think he read the comics. So it's like, it's one of those things. And after having that property around, and Tim Burton came on and they were like playing around with having him jump. And it's like, ultimately they were like, you're not really serious. He's got to fly. And it was like, all right, he can fly.
Well, he's been in a lot of street fights, though.
Yeah. John Peters is a personality unto himself. And it's like, all I could say is like, I got where he was coming from. And so I understand like where some of those bigger, crazier ideas come from. And they're not comic book related. So that's why it's so difficult when you're talking with, why don't you do this? But then I said, no, I want this for these other reasons.
But then, the biggest coup is that you have a huge part of the film is built around Tim Burton, one of the most modern, successful modern directors of all time. And you see a totally different side of Tim Burton in this film. I was all of a sudden sympathetic and like, he's a really likable guy.
Yes.
How did you get Tim Burton involved?
He flew there.
Yeah.
He freaking flew.
But how did you get him to agree to sit down and talk to you about this film? Because he's a guy that seems like he's always moving forward to the next project. Sure. How did he sit down and talk about a film that was supposed to be almost 10 years ago, or more than 10 years ago?
He didn't want to talk about it. He was aware of the documentary because when I launched the Kickstarter, there was an article. Somebody had asked him, hey, are you aware there's a documentary being made? He's like, I hope it's better than the film that I didn't make. So I knew he knew about it.
Wow.
And I didn't have any way to contact him. And
as most of us don't.
Basically, I was getting a lot of people who were writing into me when I first started the doc. They were writing in, hey, I wanted to make a documentary about this too. Let's team up. And I was like, no. It was like, you know what I mean?
Random people?
Yeah, random people. And then a lot of other people were writing to me like, hey, or I was like, hey, you should make your own. It's like, or cool. Or usually I was pretty positive about it. I was, I'm glad, because they were like, hey, I wanted to make something too. I'm glad you're doing it. Oh, that's cool. Because it's going to be a lot of work. So I knew that. And trying to get in contact with all the artists, it just took so much time. But with Tim Burton, it was literally someone wrote to me and they were like, hey, I'm working on Almost Human in Canada. Mm-hmm. And right across the street, or right across the hall from me, they're building the Big Eyes set. I'm a giant fan of yours from Metalocalypse. I want to help you. I don't want to get fired, but here's the production manager's email and number. So then I just wrote the production manager for Big Eyes. I wrote a really nice letter saying, exactly who I am, what I'm trying to do. If you could forward this to Tim Burton, then I left a message, and then nothing. So 4 weeks later, I get an email from Tim Burton's executive producer, Derek Fry, and he was like, hey, Tim knows about your project. We're all really interested in it. He's super busy right now. How long can you wait for an interview. If you were gonna, I wrote forever. I really wrote that. I can wait forever because what I'm making is Tim Burton's Superman Lives. It's a documentary about what he was going to do with it. It's incredibly important to talk with him about it. And so then he wrote me back, all right, well, we're going to be busy, so we'll get back to you in like 4 months. So I was like, all right, well, that's not forever. 4 months pass, and then he writes me, he's like, and this was at the end of 2013.
You didn't have to reach back out to him. He remembered in 4 months.
Yeah, he was totally cool about it.
So non-Hollywood.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
and in the meantime, are you just in the editing bay over that 4 months, or just kind of?
No, I mean, this is 2013. So I just literally had started the film.
Oh, okay.
Like, I raised the money from January, February, March, and then got the money in April. And literally had talked to like 3 concept artists. And then I had just gotten Wesley Strick, who was the second screenwriter. So it was very like, like one interview every 2 weeks.
Yeah, so you were busy anyway, so waiting wasn't that big of a deal.
Waiting wasn't I was doing other jobs. It was like Superman Lives was like, that's my side job as I, slowly get towards filming more people.
It's kind of your passion project. Yeah.
And so then like 4 months later, he was like, hey, Tim has an opening in March of next year. Can you come out to London and meet him? He's not sure he wants to do the interview, but he wants to meet you at least. Jesus. So me and Holly broke by that time, like, cause like it was like a year and a half after we had raised the money, so we'd like done about I think about 20 interviews, and we had run out of money. So sort of one of those things where it's like, all right, well, we weren't counting on not having the dough to fly out to England, so we were able to sell a bunch of. I sold a ton of my comics. We loaned a little bit of money from some friends.
Worth it?
Totally worth it. Yeah, so we went out there and met with him and met with Derek, and just literally after 10 minutes, we just talked with him for a little bit, and he liked both of us, and he was like, yeah, I'll do the interview.
Wow.
So,
whoa.
You didn't have to go back, though.
No, we came back 2 days later.
Such an old school, awesome filmmaking, sir.
Yeah, so 2 days later, we came back. We came back to his house, and we shot it in one of his 3 homes that he has right there in London, and did the interview. And he was really awesome to speak with. And so many people always look at him as like, well, did he show up and was he all like gothy and spooky and stuff? He's just like a really funny, as you can see from the interviews, he's a funny, sarcastic guy. Great sense of humor, incredibly intelligent.
Good artist.
Amazing artist. And he really opened up. It's sort of like, I've had really good luck with talking with people because like John Peters or anybody is like, after about 20 minutes they feel comfortable. Like I'm like not I'm not trying to get over on them. I'm actually just trying to talk with them like a real person, and that's where the interview really starts in with Tim and most of the other people I talk with is about 20 minutes in. Then we just are clicking and we're just talking about it. So he was great to talk with. Literally everything that's in the film were like highlights.
After that interview, it must have been fun to sit there and edit.
It was, I mean, it's a lot of work. I mean, editing is such a beast when it's a documentary because it can be anything. There's no script. It's not like here's this, and you just have a shot selection. It could be anything in any order, any way you want. As you know, with reality television, you can manipulate stuff to make it seem like people said this. You tell
the story from the end. Yeah. Once you know how it ends in reality, then you can go back to the beginning and say, now we have to tell the through line to get to that place.
I was just, because I'm still on Tim Burton. I can't get over this. I want to know about your preparation. So finally he says, yeah, I'll do it. You've got those 2 days. Are you sitting there like crapping your pants? I mean, that's the scariest thing to me.
None of that scares me.
Really?
No, I'm being dead honest. It doesn't scare me at all. Well, everybody I meet is a human being.
You know what was so cool?
Anything like that.
He seemed to have a certain camaraderie with you as a filmmaker. He said, anytime you can get anything done. And one thing that The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened, makes so clear, and thanks for that title, by the way, really rolls off the tongue easily. Is all these different. What a mountain it is to make a movie like this. Like, there's not just an art department. There's 5 art departments. There's concept art, there's design art, there's FX art, there's VFX art, and they don't even talk to each other. Right. There's Tim Burton, who's an auteur. There's Jon Peters, who's, as you said, a mega producer. How anything gets done, let alone gets done well, is unbelievable. And I think I'm pretty savvy about this stuff, but there were so many things I'm like, I can't believe, how does anything ever happen?
It's amazing that anything happens. And I think that this film especially is not just about Superman, but it's about the process of Hollywood filmmaking. And you can see how far you can get before it's canceled.
Yeah, and the one
You
line
get pretty far.
The one line I love is when you guys were talking about Michael Keaton being Batman, and it was pre-internet.
Right.
But I love that line where they said, if you would have told the public that Michael Keaton was going to be Batman, the internet still would have been pissed off.
Yeah.
And it's funny because 20-some years later, the same backlash happened when Ben Affleck got announced, and now everyone's like, oh, wait. This is a pretty good idea because Mr. Mom was a hit, but you can't think of Mr. Mom as Batman.
No.
And so I just love the fact that things never really change.
They never change. Heath Ledger as the Joker. What a horrible decision! And then he wins an Oscar, and he's the best Joker ever. And every kid dresses like him.
Right.
So
I don't know.
Jared Leto is going to be he's in the same boat. He's horrible. Why does he have tattoos? Cut to the movies out next year. Kids are going to have those tattoos. It's just like.
It's amazing how people want to wallow in misery before they've even seen the film. How they choose not to be optimistic, because my opinion is if the film's bad, you have from that point for the rest of your life to be miserable about it. Yeah. Why not be optimistic leading up to the film?
I'll say this, I think it's because change is scary. And for I think for nerds, it's even scarier. Like people are like, hold stuff really close. Like, this is my comic book character. They hold things very close to the chest. So I think when change happens, Hugh Jackman, he's 6'4", he's not like my Wolverine. Hatred. Then you watch it and you're like, now he's my Wolverine. Now it's bumming that he's going to not be
Steel cage
Wolverine.
match, done.
The most recent example is probably Ghostbusters 3, all-female cast, the backlash. You ruined my childhood. It's like, if you're that mad about an all-female cast, your childhood was ruined way before this announcement.
Yeah. And nothing can really ruin your childhood. I mean, The Phantom Menace came out and it sucks. But that didn't ruin your childhood. That just ruined the Force. Yeah. Well, now you have a Geiger counter with midi-chlorians. What? They screw up cool ideas. That's what like sequels or prequels can do, but it doesn't really ruin. Like, there's only one Matrix for me. The second one and the third one don't exist.
Yeah.
But I still enjoy the Matrix. I still love that film. But I pretend that the other two don't exist.
Yeah.
Do you think that studios are, because of the size of these budgets, how they've inflated, Deadpool kind of being a notable exception now, is it too hard to get a bold, different take told of a marquee character? Is it too hard to get something made? Because they don't seem to have this kind of Elseworlds idea. It seems like we have to build a franchise or nothing.
Let me say, that's a great question, because when Superman Lives was going to get made, it was like 98, 99, and we didn't have any superhero anything. There was like you had the Phantom and, the Shadow and the Mask, like these weird kind of characters. No one was making Iron Man. People were like, nah, no one wanted to make any of that stuff that we now are just, where's our next superhero movie? Even 7 isn't enough. In 2016, you're like, I wish at least 12 were coming out. Yeah. Can't we have one a month?
And Nick Cage was probably at his hottest, I think.
He was. I mean, he literally had just won an Oscar, and then he had just done The Rock and Con Air. So he was actually like an action star.
Yeah.
So it wasn't crazy casting. It was definitely unique and different casting. It wasn't like the square-jawed Superman that everybody from the comics wanted. But
he looked so awesome in that suit.
Yeah, I think Superman Lives would have been a really cool, different film. But once again, you could take chances, and I think you could take more chances back then than you could take now. And just like you could take more chances in 1981 or 82 than you could take in 1998 or 99. It's just gotten worse.
Too much.
Yeah, there's just too much money. Things cost way too much, which makes the overhead way too much. And everyone's talking about you have to make it global. You have to make it, if it's Rocky, you have to smooth it so that it's a circle so that more people can go see it. That's why I think a film like Deadpool is great. For many, many reasons. I'm always astonished. The thing that pissed me off about Gambit was like, why is it $150 million?
Yeah. It's ridiculous.
I mean,
this one was estimated at $300 million, wasn't it?
This one was estimated at $180 million, but then when you add the P&A, the actual print and advertising and those raw costs, which is like Green Lantern, that's why it cost so much, because it was on billboards and buses and all this is amazing amounts of money.
It's also the opposite of something like a Gambit, where like Deadpool, it's like they've had this script. It seems like when the story is the inception of the idea. I was just talking with someone yesterday, one of the writers on our FX show, and he said, look, if you can take the script, put it down, and just say it stands on its own, that's the place where you should make a film from. Yep. Mm-hmm. They were trying to make this Superman Lives. All right, we know we want to do it, but there's 3 screenwriters on it. They're working kind of backwards. They have the property, but they don't have the story yet, and I think that's where they get into trouble.
Adam, we're not even putting the script down. We're reading it out loud. Don't forget.
Oh, we are?
Yeah, come read it to me.
Oh, awesome.
John Peters wants it to be read to him.
Oh, that's right.
That's right.
No, it took you a minute, but you got there.
Yeah, they hadn't nailed it down yet. But for the Superman Lives film, it was because they were at that place where they couldn't take that risk or that challenge of it being a flop. So they ended up going with another movie that was a bigger flop. But that's the problem with studios, where it's like, I think if you're able to make smaller budget superhero films, which we live in that age now where you should be able to do it. It shouldn't cost $150 million when you see like a $3 million film with all these incredible special effects, because effects cost so little now. That's what angered me a little bit. Like, I'm not in charge of Gambit. Maybe they are making like some crazy super universe that he jumps into, and like Mojo's in there. We were joking about that.
When you have a budget that big, you're setting yourself up for failure. It's like the line of the room for error is like minuscule.
Yeah. Maybe that could have helped Trank's movie if they were willing to make a smaller budget film and let him make the film. I'm fascinated about that too. Obviously, after seeing your film, I want to see that made about Fantastic Four, because you just have this like he said situation where you don't know who. Some people have said, he would have made a great film. Maybe not. You don't know, but it would have been interesting if it was one person's idea, if it was one vision rather than a cobbled vision.
Fantastic Four is a perfect example of a film destroyed by people who didn't believe in the person that they hired.
Yep.
It's so apparent when you watch the movie, and that's what made a lot of people hate it. Like, the audience reactions to it and why it got such a low critics score is because they're watching a movie and then it just becomes something else, and that something else is so bad and disappointing it makes you hate the film. So the first hour of it is erased by the retardation process of the last like 15 minutes.
Completely.
Well, that's enough about Marvel. Let's talk about a movie that's going to get a standing ovation.
Yes.
Okay, so
Let's
that's
talk about BVS.
The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Once again, it's available on Blu-ray, on DVD, and
digital download. You could just watch it instantly right now if you go to www.tdoslwh.com. I know it's a mouthful, but it basically stands for The Death of Superman Lives. What happened? Boom. Once again, it's www.tdoslwh.com.
Wait, so I did that. Now do I have it permanently, or did I only get that the one time through?
No, it's yours permanent.
Now I have
you own it.
Permanently.
If you buy the digital download, you could just stream it immediately, or you could download it. You can still go back and then you own it on your desktop or do whatever you want with it. The Blu-ray has like 10 hours of extra features.
You got to download.
And if you're listening to this podcast, you should have seen this film already, and hopefully this made you want to see it. It's phenomenal.
Amazing.
It's amazing.
But we do have some DC news.
Let's get to the news, Johnny.
Let's get to it. First off, WB confirms there was a BVS screening. Now, we talked about it a few weeks ago about how there was a supposed standing ovation. Everyone's going crazy for it. And they did admit that, they did take a hit this year because the original release date was July 17th, 2015. But they're glad they pushed it back because they wanted to make sure they got the movie as amazing.
Who is saying this? This is Kevin Tsujihara?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's, obviously this is the CEO of Warner Brothers, but these are pretty cool things to say, right?
Absolutely. I'm the least surprised ever that it actually happened, though. I think this would have been a strange joke if somehow it got leaked that a screening happened and it didn't actually happen. I think it's great. Yeah, they pushed back a movie because they needed to push it back, and now it's going to be better for it. That's what we love.
Hometown.
Yeah, my not even concern. My interest is, why did it get pushed back? Like, what did they change about it? Was it that they have this one version of the script and then they were like, but now we want to set up the cinematic universe, so they had to rewrite it?
That's exactly what I think happened.
Yeah.
I think they took the time because they were like, listen, we have this. I think a lot of people think of, Man of Steel as kind of a backdoor pilot for the DC universe. They didn't really know where they're going, and I think they took the time to really build it out. That's what I got from these comments, and that's what I choose to believe. They said, Warner Brothers kind of took a hit in 2015, not having a strong a year as they could have because they didn't have this movie in that fiscal year.
Yeah, but then they get a double taste next year when it makes $2 billion. We've waited our entire lives to watch Batman and Superman be in the same movie together, let alone fight each other and then become part of the Justice League. It's crazy.
And Suicide Squad.
Yeah. Suicide Squad is super interesting to me. In fact, I'm more interested in that right now than Batman v Superman. But when it gets time to Batman v Superman, like March, I'm going to be like, I cannot wait to see that movie.
It's funny you mentioned Suicide Squad because we got some photos, y'all. Let's get these photos one after one. Turns out Harley Quinn did some tattoos this week. Actually, they did tattoos on each other. Hashtag squad.
This is what it would look like if I was trying to spell something as a tattoo artist. Just the worst.
So are these real tattoos they were doing?
Yeah, they're real.
Will
so
Smith
awesome.
gave Kinnaman a tattoo.
Squad. I was gonna make the marker and write it on my way in here. That would have been
Look
cool.
at that. That's so funny. Did Smith get any tattoos?
It didn't mention anything about him getting a tattoo.
Of course, Kinnaman's gonna get a tattoo.
I heard the whole squad got squad tattoos, but I don't know.
Maybe Will got one then.
He got on the bottom of his foot.
Yeah, right.
Like,
a little tiny,
yeah.
like, hey man, Jada gonna get mad. So yeah, that's possible. So
Oh, that's really cool. I mean, look, I saw them on stage at Hall H during Comic-Con, and that cast, as opposed to some of the other ensemble casts, really looked like they were having a good time, looked like they were making a movie together. I can't say that about all the ensembles. Some people look more or less uncomfortable, not sure what they're doing, but these guys that looked like they were having fun. Will Smith grabs the mic before they went off stage. Like, obviously we haven't seen the film yet, but I'm very optimistic about what I've seen so far.
yes,
No, it's a great trailer. I mean, and honestly, if you asked me last year, so they're making a Suicide Squad movie, I would have been like, what? Because that's what I was like, what? When I heard that. And then I saw the trailer and I was like, wow, it looks so exciting and just different. And that's what's exciting, at least to me, what DC is doing. I'm sure it's a tip of the hat from Marvel taking Guardians. Like, look, we could take some of our lesser known characters and make an incredible film with that. But I think this is like how they're tying Batman into it and everything is pretty cool.
Do you think you'd see a film where Batman's like just in a flashback or a passing sequence or something?
Plus, I think everyone loves a great ensemble cast.
Of course. I think it's going to be incredible. I think about them getting cast in other roles now and seeing their squad tattoos as they're playing like Prince Charming in a different movie.
Makeup. Yeah.
Roxy, don't you think it really, when they first started talking about this film, they were referencing things like The Dirty Dozen and things like that, real ensemble films, where it wasn't even about like how big a star they are, but if they can really capture that, at least that's what it seems like off camera now, but to capture that great ensemble sort of, taste, then I think it could be awesome.
Are you going to talk about Michael Shannon?
Oh, we're going to get to it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's going to be our final story.
Someone's excited.
Before we sign off,
I didn't want to know if we were done talking about Batman v Superman.
Oh, no.
We're going to talk about Michael Shannon, but we are going to go back to BVS here and just in general about how DC has really done a great job of bringing female superhero characters into the fold. You have there's a great article this week about talking about Gal Gadot. Then the characters like Mercy Graves, Barbara Gordon, Senator Finch. Holly Hunter playing that character. And there's also a rumor about who Gal Gadot is going to be fighting.
Gadot.
Is it? I always say Gadot.
Some say Gadot, some say Gadot.
She says Gadot, so you got to go.
Does she?
She does, doesn't she?
Gal Gadot.
I only correct you because I know that some comment in there was going to be like, Johnny, it's Gadot.
I'm sorry,
So-
I see the silent tear.
Johnny's
every time I
mom
see
needs
that.
to stop commenting. Right.
I know.
Needs to stay out of the chat room.
I don't know why Johnny's mom's a Jewish grandmother, but sometimes it happens.
You gotta say things correctly. So, do we want to talk about this rumor about who she's going to be fighting?
Yeah, I want to know. I didn't even hear this rumor.
All right.
The Doomsday. There was Doomsday talk. We've mentioned that on the
we
show
talked
before
about
too.
it.
Yeah, we actually talked about it before. I'm not sure if you were here with us when we did, but
It's an El Mayimbe.
yeah, it's an Umberto scoop. The idea that some of the action beats that we saw in the BVS trailer were actually of Gale fighting Doomsday.
I'm of the mindset that the script that I read is real. So
You have read a script.
Yeah, and everything that's been released so far is exactly happens in the script. So I'm like, I don't know how, and I never had a problem with them fighting Doomsday. It's like based off of Zod's DNA. It's not a spoiler. It's sort of like they show you in the trailer. And where you see Zod's body being zipped up and Luthor's got
Yeah, I guess it leads
so.
to that. Yeah, that's a good point.
I mean, it's like if you just like when you watch trailers, it's like you're watching them, so it's like they're showing you little clues to what's going to be in the
Does
film.
that give you satisfaction because you saw so much development of Doomsday in this Superman Lives, Superman Returns movie? It never happened. We never got Doomsday, and now we might be getting it.
I think you're going to get Doomsday, and I'll argue with other people who are like, Doomsday deserves his own movie. He doesn't. He's a non-character. He doesn't even talk. He's a killing machine. So it's like, whether he's found on a rock with like, he's the 400th baby that survived the alien planet that's like in the comic book, or he's built by some crazy scientist here on Earth, it doesn't matter. It's a killing machine that's built to destroy and basically lure out Superman and kill him.
And not for an entire movie.
Right, not for an entire movie. So I think he's a perfect villain and a perfect weapon to bring the Justice League together.
It's just to watch Adam cringe for a second. Juan Herrera in the chat says Doomsday is the real hero. I know you got so mad at him last week for hearing saying. Yeah.
No, you know what? It does make sense because it feels like the meat and the brains of this film is going to be about what's going on between Clark and Bruce and Lex and establishing all that. So if you have all that real estate that you have to give to those characters and you just want an ass-kicking fight at the end, why not give it to a big brute without a big brain and save it for, Darkseid down the road when you want to put all those things together? So I've come on board.
Or walk in as Brainiac.
Still a missed opportunity.
Damn it.
Legs. I'm a spider. It's crazy. I don't know. Bruce. Clark. Weird.
Oh,
See, and then do that voice, but then Kevin Spacey's head's right next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to kill Superman.
Lex, what are you? You're dating old women. I don't understand it.
That's really good.
So just because we ignore them for a little bit, I'm bringing the chat back in again. So the Master says that he agrees with you about Doomsday, and then Elba nominated you for president. So
Schnepp for president.
just, that's the way it works,
just a
right?
few years.
We had a lot of people wondering where the F-bombs were, and I'm like, we didn't censor him. He can say whatever he wants.
Oh, do they want me to fucking swear?
I guess so.
Oh, see, I snuck that one in there.
See?
It really wasn't much of a sneak, though. It was really like a setup.
It was kind of totally got fucking set up.
Yeah.
Oh, I keep swearing.
So right now,
Do we want to do the Michael Shannon thing before we go to the thing that she wants to do so bad?
I want to do the Michael
I thought it'd be a
Shannon
fun thing to end on, but go ahead.
No,
Go
we
ahead.
can't.
Okay, no, because we're in the movie segment. Okay, so tell us the scoop, and it's weird and it's interesting. So let's
And
hear
it's
it.
pretty awesome.
Oh, you can't ask for it from him. You've been so excited about
Okay,
it. You tell us the
You
scoop.
say you tell the scoop. You read it.
Well, I think we've all been stuck in a porta potty before, and movie stars are no different. Michael Shannon apparently was using the facilities on the set of BVS, and he had flipper hands and could not get out of the porta potty, and no one knew where he was. And someone from craft services heard him banging on the door like, "Let me out of here!" And the guy opened him, and he's like, "Thanks, man."
As everybody's like, where the fuck is this guy?
Right. Roxy wanted to get in on the F-bomb action too.
Well, now that we're explicit,
But the way Michael Shannon describes it makes me like, if you've ever heard him talk in interviews, it's like he's just making that, like, he doesn't know what to call it. So he's like, so I got like these like flipper fingers, and so like I'm flippy clapping on the door. So like he doesn't know what to call them. It's not like literally Tusk Kevin Smith flippers. You know what I mean? It's
everybody's saying that. They're like, why is he wearing these massive flippers?
Yeah, he's not playing a manatee.
Here's my question.
In Superman,
If he couldn't open the door, number one, how did he get in? Number two, how did he go?
Here's what I think.
Good.
Here's my take on this story. Because of what he said afterwards, when he also commented and he said he didn't see the trailer. He's like, what, did I appear as a toaster or a briefcase? Which kind of harkens back to what Marlon Brando used to say about like Superman's father. Is like, why can we speak and clicks and beeps and like look like a briefcase?
You've done better.
I think that Shannon is totally messing with the interviewer.
Sure.
That's my take. Like, Johnny, you would say he's swerving. I think he knows that he can't say anything, and they're trying to press him. So I think he's totally being like, well, I wear flippers in this movie. And, like, I think he's totally messing with the interviewer. That's what I choose to believe.
Yeah.
And my opinion on it is he doesn't know what the things that are on his fingers are called, and he's like got some giant kind of prosthetic-y thing to
You
play.
think that
Doomsday.
he's actually going to be more than just a corpse body?
Yes, because he says he also says in there, he's like, I've got my full suit on, or my outfit. The way he's describing it, it makes some sense. And he's not revealing too much, but by just saying that, it's like, I think
Chat roll, what do you guys think? Is Shannon totally messing with the interviewer because, he's savvy and he's a funny guy? Or is he like letting some stuff slip, and are we getting more Michael Shannon than just the corpse that we saw in the trailer?
They don't have opinions on that, but they do have opinions that he doesn't wipe. So now we know.
Oh, well, no one said it was number 2. Chat roll, that is filthy.
When it comes down to it, it's good to know that even rich and famous people have to use porta potties.
right, and flippers.
And
Yeah,
flippers.
I mean, come on. Craft
So-
services. Would you like this slider, sir? Oh my God.
Hey, I got these flippers on. I can't eat my sandwiches. Hey,
This is pulled pork.
it's weird. I just dagger them with my weird flipper fingers. Hey.
I don't even know if I know what just happened.
So, Mr. Schnepp, every single week on the show, we have, once we get done with all the movie talk, we move on into a little bit of the television community, and Roxy dubbed it her favorite part of the show. It's called TV Time.
And there was a nonsensical, exactly, that she does this every
always
week, and I'm like, I can't sing along with that.
TV time, sing along with me.
And then we got this.
Roxy Striar's TV time. She thinks that the Flash is fine. DC movie news. It's time to talk. TV time.
Did you hear that? Did you hear what he just did?
know, it's
did you
amazing.
see that?
It's
Did you
amazing.
sing along with the song?
It's amazing.
I did. It's great. I love it.
I took weeks and months, actually, of abuse from this man about TV time.
If you had given it any semblance of a melody or anything that I could sing along to, I would have supported you, but I couldn't follow you.
It's been painful, but thank God.
That's good,
Okay,
right?
so what do we got?
A lot of
Talking.
stuff. Roxy, you want to get us started on the workplace comedy?
Oh, yeah. This
It's got
is-
everybody
The
talking.
Office? What's going on?
Yeah, kind of, but Powerless sounds like Office. This is interesting. NBC trying not to ruin a TV show. We'll see how that works out. No, I'm just kidding. Ha 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 ha. Just kidding. So anyway, they have this new comedy. It looks like it could be interesting if it's done well. It could potentially be funny, where it's taking place in the superhero world, but not necessarily.
It's in the DC universe.
Yeah, it's in the DC
Yes.
universe.
It's a comedy.
At one of the worst insurance companies in America. So I'm just going to guess it's going to be a lot of destruction of Metropolis talk.
I'm going to bet Schnepp is going to know what this sounds like to me. What do you think this sounds like? A Marvel property?
It sounds like it was called like a multi-task force or what? Do you
I was
remember?
actually thinking what they mocked DC with. They called it Damage Control.
Damage Control. That I just couldn't remember what it was called.
Yeah.
Because I hate that too, and I absolutely hate this idea. I
You
think
do?
it's stupid and corny and dumb.
Don't you think it could be funny though if
no,
they do it well?
the only way I'll laugh is when it's canceled.
Well, what Damage Control was a Marvel thing, which basically their whole thing, and it wasn't very good, but I remember I got like the 4-issue limited series, whatever. They were the guys that basically cleaned up after superheroes.
Yes.
So when you say it's like an insurance company, it kind of makes me think like it's in that same vein. But they called it Damage Control in DC. It was like Marvel's big joke.
Right.
It was like the distinguished
Yeah.
competition in DC and all that.
I'm not
So-
trying to pass judgment, but a show like this, I don't see how it has staying power. At some point, you have to see a superhero, right?
No, you will see superheroes,
Okay.
just not the marquees.
Here's what they say. This
You'll
is
get your Blue Beetles. You'll.
Ben Queen, who's the EP of it, who was the creator of A to Z, says the reality of working life for a normal, powerless person in a world of superheroes and villains. So I understand what you're saying, that you don't think you're seeing them, but I think they're going to be around. They just aren't the main focus.
I mean, from what I said, they said don't expect to see Batman or Superman or the Flash, but I think minor characters and maybe.
So Booster Gold's going to be boning all the hot chicks.
Could be.
Everyone at the office.
Could be.
So we don't give this past season 1.
I just think it sounds stupid. I just think the idea of it is just some desperate, like, well, we don't really want to commit to a superhero film, but can we do a half-hour comedy?
Yeah.
It's just boring.
Hey man, to
I
each
just
their
see the
own.
bad trailer on NBC right now. Thursday at 8:30.
Powerless.
We'll see, man. There is a lot. There's a lot going on out there.
Bob Chibi just got someone suing him because Booster Gold destroyed their lobby. Sounds boring.
I'm liking the different voices though today. It's good.
Well, we shall see. We shall see if Powerless happens. Speaking of this, have you guys seen Powers? Since I got a PlayStation 4, I finally got to watch Powers. What did you think of Powers?
I did not watch the TV show yet. I've read the comics though.
Well, I will tell you this. It is kind of cheesy. It's obviously got a lower budget, but it is such a faithful adaptation of the Bendis book.
Oh, good.
So it's really enjoyable in that. And I like, when they show the effects of people flying in the distant background, and it kind of looks kind of cool like that. There's some of that. It's adult themed. It's definitely worth checking out. So and it's got Charlton Copley in it.
All right, so this Sunday, the Arrow, the Green Arrow, and the Red Hour, they're going to be teaming up at WWE SummerSlam. But for the next season of Arrow, Roxy, we have a brand new...
Because we are under the impression right now that we don't even have an Arrow.
Right.
He's driven off into the sunset. Spoiler alert. I guess you're supposed to say spoiler alert first. I'm interested to see what it looks like. They've been in this place for 3 years now. They got to move at some point. It was getting to be absolutely outrageous that they were
is
there.
that the old one?
No, I think
No,
that's the
this
new
is
one.
That's a concept art of the new one. Call it what you want. The Arrow
Because they got a
Bunker or
a
whatever.
team now. They've got
Okay.
a full vigilante force.
See, I'd never watched Arrow, and then I just started watching Flash, like I said.
I heard
And
that, yeah.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, but you got to watch Arrow because it's going to enhance Flash for you.
Well, no, like I said, I've just not watched any of them. Then I watched Constantine, and they canceled it.
Yeah, but
and
now-
it just started getting good, and they canceled it.
But you know what
I
they're doing
agree.
with him? They're bringing him on to Arrow.
I know, and
so-
I read that too. So I was like, all right, but I watched 5 episodes of Flash while I was on the plane going to Australia, and I was like, now I'm hooked.
I'm
It's so good.
so obsessed with that show. I cover
really
it for
good.
afterwards. I love it. It's my
I couldn't
favorite
believe
show.
how good.
So
and
good.
Jeff Johns is a writer on
Yeah.
it. So it's like,
Yeah.
It's pretty crazy.
I really hope that Arrow can rebound. It really lost me last season, and part of the reason was that there were just too many people with Arrow-like powers on it that were showing up, and now this bigger Arrow cave kind of just like, it's because now they got like the Arrow Force.
Mm-hmm. But the bigger question is, will the Arrow beat the Stardust this Sunday at SummerSlam?
That is the more important question.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm a big
God.
wrestling nerd.
You're the wrestling guy, so you tell me what's going to happen. There's no way Stephen Amell shows up and loses, right?
my
Here's
God,
the thing.
zero shot.
That's what people say, but Stephen Amell is such a huge pro wrestling fan. I would not be shocked if this is a storyline that might play out. This might not be a one-time deal. Every time a celebrity comes in, it's always a one-time deal. You know they're going to win. Stephen Amell's the kind of dude that's been training and that legit wants to be involved. It wouldn't surprise me if this plays out over a period of a couple months. I would not be shocked if Stephen Amell loses on Sunday.
And his name is The Stardust?
Oh, no, he's Stardust.
Okay. I like that. I was like, hey,
I feel like saying
that's a weird.
It's a tag team match.
Stardust.
I think I'm going to add a "the" to the beginning of my name, the Roxy.
Yeah. Well, I like that Ben Affleck's doing The Batman. I was like, it just got 1,000 times cooler.
Oh, so like I spent a night at the Roxy? Or I spent a night with the Roxy?
Yeah, that's good, right?
I guess either way, yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
We got some Flash stuff coming out. Oh, first thing, another character in Gotham coming out. I don't even know how to say it. Michelle Veintimilla?
Veintimilla.
She'll be playing Firefly.
Oh, Veintimilla. No, it's not like Milo Ventimiglia's sister, is it?
No, it's not. No. Different spelling.
Different, okay.
Another Italian.
Wow, Gotham is getting another character.
Another character.
My.
So wait, a female Firefly? Is there precedence for that?
No.
It's never been. It's always been a male.
She's going to play the runt of the litter in the Pike Gang, which is the brand new character they're creating for Gotham, and she's going to fight with Selena Kyle.
Well, I will say I kicked Firefly's ass in Arkham Knight.
And she's in the video game, yes. Or he's in the video game, I should say.
Actually, Firefly, the first time I think I encountered Firefly was in like the Nintendo Entertainment System version of Batman. Oh, wow. That I had. Like, he flew around in the little 8-bit version, so Firefly's been around for a little bit.
Oh my God, I think Johnny's going to lose it because somebody in the chat is making fun of wrestling right now. So
I'm about to go eat shit.
Look, I could tell. Look at him.
They say wrestling is fake.
They said Stephen Amell doesn't need to slum with the wrestling, and I just turned over to him and immediately just like flushed.
Oh man.
Just had to inform you guys what was
Talk
going
shit on wrestling, guys. It's going to get real sweaty in here real fast.
It's already
know.
real sweaty in here.
Go ahead,
Oh
Rox.
my God.
Continue.
Okay.
What do we have next?
Okay, well, so we're done with the Gotham talk, and we don't need to spend any more
So
time on that
Firefly,
yet.
okay, it's a cool villain, but again, like we know Gotham doesn't have a problem with like lack of Batman villains on that show.
Aren't there like 400 right now?
There's so many, and like apparently they all must be like way older than Batman because he's still 12.
Right.
So
I do like Edward Nygma so far.
Yeah.
Like I watched a sprinkling
I
of Gotham
agree.
episodes.
No, he was great.
was
He
like,
was
all right.
developed great, and honestly,
The actors, a lot of them are
Gordon
great.
and Bullock are awesome.
Oh, fantastic.
Gordon and Bullock are great. I want to see those guys just all the time. I just don't think you need to drop like hints like, huh? You know, Batman every time? Like, huh?
Yeah.
You get it, right? You get it? It's Batman?
You don't want to see the dad's Batcave? You don't think that
I
that's
don't know
valid?
that Dad should have a Batcave. I think it's cooler if Dad is like just a doctor.
Yeah.
Like, because I love in Batman Begins when Liam Neeson's like, you know why your father failed? Like, I love that part. Like, because his dad didn't have a Batcave. He wasn't a vigilante. He was a doctor,
You
which
gotta
is a
have a
pretty
Batcave.
awesome thing to be.
You gotta have it. All right, so more TV time. TV. Talking more about Flash, which I love. Basically, not that much news came out, but we talked a little more about Jay Garrick and Wally West, and about Killer Frost, who we have been hinting at is coming on because Caitlin Snow. I'm just excited to see multiple Flashes, and it seems like everybody's excited. They didn't realize how excited everybody would be, which is cool. I'm glad that they're getting such good feedback about it, that people even that understand what's going on. I didn't know that but the public would even know or
get
care.
the Jay Garrick thing and all
Yeah.
that. Well, I mean, look, it's really cool. I think a really awesome thing that they would do is, since they're establishing like an Earth 2 in this, why not do, like you were saying, an Elseworld story that focused around Jay Garrick that maybe didn't even have to have Grant Gustin in the episode? What if they did that, like an actual episode that was just sort of like a sideline
standalone
story? Just a standalone episode. I mean, like something like that would be really cool.
Well, are they going to integrate Supergirl into? I know it's like CBS or CW and CBS.
So they right now haven't said a definitive no, but they have said everything but that. Like you have to be so careful about about combining these worlds, and we don't want to go there, and we don't think it's a smart idea. Mostly from CBS's side, mostly from Supergirl.
The problem for me, as I've said before, was like we know that Superman exists on this Supergirl show. So if Supergirl crosses over with Arrow, all of a sudden now you're saying you're living in a world with Superman.
Right.
That implies
things.
that Superman exists in that
So
world.
does Arrow or Flash ever reference Batman? None of that's ever.
No, there was Green Lantern reference. There have been a couple of
But
small
only
things.
Ferris, like not the existence of
Yeah.
a Lantern Corps.
Right. Exactly.
So they haven't acknowledged that a Green Lantern exists.
Yeah,
or
they have
that
made a couple
Batman-
Batman things like that, not acknowledging Batman, but giving a nod to
maybe
Batman
Gotham,
fans.
say referring to Gotham or something.
Right,
like that.
exactly. So yeah, the quote coming from here is that about the Flashes all coming on. I knew people were going to be excited about Wally West. I didn't know they were going to be this excited about Wally West, which is a bummer because I can tell you nothing about Wally West. Thank you, Stanton, for that. So that's what we got on that. And then we all knew all along that Killer Frost was coming. It's confirmed that it's going to be a slow burn to introduce Killer Frost.
Hey, since I'm behind, do they actually have like a Flash, like, bat symbol? kind
No,
of thing,
what
or-
is that? That's interesting.
That's a screenshot I found.
Oh, okay.
Okay. All right.
No, well, what is interesting, you'll notice you're still early in season 1, but in season 2, I don't know if you've seen the costume art, pretty much the same, but they did put the Flash symbol on the white background.
Oh, okay, cool.
So they made like little changes there, but like it's really good.
I have to say how shocked I was at how well written that. Like the first 5 episodes, granted, I mean, I watched them all in a row, so it was like one cool
That's
like 4-hour movie.
Right.
It's a
Great way to do it, yeah.
But I got emotionally invested in scenes. I got like choked up, and I was like, I can't believe that this is like so well written.
The show is freaking awesome.
Like the father-son thing with him and the father.
I know.
I was like, oh my god, that's
John
so
Wesley
well
Shipp.
written.
And when you can enjoy,
No, not John, not the real dad. The
it's
cop
Joe
dad.
West.
Oh,
When they
West,
finally
okay.
kind of
Right.
got over their issues.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
that's what long flights are good for. But
Yeah.
I came back from the Middle East last week. I watched Godfather 1 and 2.
Awesome.
That's a
There
lot.
is no 3. Right.
pretty much like watch the saga just like
That's
edited
so
differently.
awesome.
Oh, it was awesome. So we have one more story to. I want to end the show on a sad note. So I do have one question for you after we say this. But
Great.
rest in peace, Yvonne Craig. She was obviously Batgirl. Yeah. Came in season 3. She was the first female superheroine on TV. She lost her long battle with cancer. She was also a philanthropist. She was a real estate agent. Talk about like living your life to the fullest. So many TV shows over the years. $6 Million Man, Landed at Giants, Mod Squad, Love American Style. Worked opposite many, many stars. Did a lot of voiceover work. I mean, she really knew how to live life. And, rest in peace to her.
Yeah.
I remember one of my earliest Batman memories, or any superhero, was watching that show, and I was probably like 5 or 6 at like whatever daycare I was dropped off at, and I remember being clued in, at the beginning when they showed the theme at the top of the show, at the end, Batgirl's cycle would just go across, and it was like they were telling you that Batgirl was going to be on that episode, and I remember acknowledging that, knowing that, and thinking it was really cool, like because it switched it up a little bit.
Yeah. And she was my first crush.
I was going to say, not to
Batgirl.
mention she's so beautiful.
Yeah, I just absolutely love Batgirl. So whenever I saw that, I would watch Batman every day.
Yeah,
it was on
They
repeat.
get 2 in a row, right?
Yeah.
You get the, instead of like the weekly cliffhanger that they used to do when it originally aired, they would show like 2 in a row.
Yeah, well, I mean, I grew up in the East Coast, so it was like WOR
Me too,
TV.
yeah.
So it was like it was like 2 Batmans and then a Star Trek. And it was like, it was pretty awesome.
It was a good time.
So to close out the show, people in Shallow have been dying to get your reaction. We want to talk about your reaction to the BVS Comic-Con trailer when you were there.
Oh man, so blown away. You know what? Like the teaser trailer was just exactly what you would expect from a teaser trailer. It didn't give you too much, but it gave you an idea when they showed that Superman statue with the go home and then you started to realize, wow, they're really gonna actually answer for what they did in Man of Steel. And I think a lot of people don't like Man of Steel because they're like, Superman would never kill anybody and this and that. I actually love Man of Steel. I think it's a great film. It's got some flaws in it, but overall I thought it was an incredibly great modern reboot and a really strong retelling of why you would even care about this character. Because Superman is like an easy character to not care about. He's like invincible, he's super powerful. It's all these things that you can't empathize and you'll never feel like, hey, I'm with him on this. But with Man of Steel, he got his ass beat, and he was like literally Superman for one day before all these Kryptonians show up and demand it. We demand you surrender the alien.
Yeah.
He just stopped being the greatest American
He's like,
hero.
I was just jumping yesterday.
Yeah, he's like, can I get a break here? They're like, no, son, you're in jail. And then he's got to fight all of them that are trying to kill his mom. And it's like, yeah, he can't, he's trying to just contain this creature called Zod while they're whipping through 1,000 different buildings filled with human beings in it. So yeah, thousands of people died. I think it's probably more destruction than what happened in the Avengers, you know?
Yeah, it establishes stakes in the world, which is how the Warner Brothers DC universe is trying to set themselves apart. They're saying we're going to take a little bit of a darker stand, and that's what's going to allow for there to be room for great Marvel movies and great DC movies. They're going to have different flavors, and they're going to, you know, give people different things. You're not going to get as many quips.
Except on shitty shows like Powerful or whatever the
Powerless
or whatever.
Powerless.
See, that's the other thing that brings me back is a couple months ago they were like, and I didn't take it on the nose, like it was like, you know, the DC universe is not going to be jokes. It's not going to be funny. Basically, what he was saying is we're not going to make fun of ourselves. We're going to take ourselves seriously. And now they have a crappy show called Powerless, which is
going back to the judging something before you see it.
I know.
You can't call it crappy.
I am totally doing that.
It's just an idea.
No,
Let's
I know.
See what happens.
And I always say you can't judge until you see it, except for this. I'm totally prejudging it.
It's going to be like, Schnepp, get in here.
I
Hey,
know.
what do you want? I'm not the Flash.
Right? Before we close out, let's plug the film one more time. The Death of Superman Lives. What happened?
Wait, let me just finish because I didn't say what I thought about that trailer. So I was talking about the teaser, and they just gave you an idea like Superman's going to pay for his crimes destroying Metropolis. Then they dropped that trailer, and it's everything you wanted plus. That's how I
really
looked at
was.
it. They really showed you not just glimpses of Batman. They showed you Batman. They showed you Bruce Wayne. They show you how he fits in by watching that scene. And you've seen on YouTube, they did from Zod's perspective, and it's just like they really thought this thing through so
What about Bruce
fantastically
Wayne
well.
running into the building? Doesn't that just tell you everything you need to know about the character?
That's visual character building.
And the little girl.
So everything about that film, it really hit me really strongly. So I'm really excited to see this film.
I love the shot of Wayne
Chris
Manor.
Terrio. I mean, like, there's just a lot of things that there are to be excited about. Oh, you dropped a little rumor on Marvel that I'd like you to repeat. You have a little inclination as to who might direct the proper Man of Steel sequel?
Yeah, George Miller. He's doing Man of Steel too.
Wow.
You seem so confident.
Yeah, you just said that so nonchalantly.
Yeah, I don't feel weird about breaking it. So it's like, obviously Zack Snyder is doing Justice League 1 and 2. We already got James Wan doing Aquaman, Waterman. I think they should change the title.
Hey,
like
I love King of Atlantis.
Pick your battle, Schnepp. I don't know if you're winning that
King
one.
of Atlantis.
I'm going to fight it.
I'm with you. King of Atlantis. Let's make it
It just sounds better, more powerful. But I think George Miller's a perfect choice to do Man of Steel 2. He's going to bring so much to it. That's
Wow.
But what was the last question?
Dropping fire.
That was it?
Just a quick shout out going back to something. Alan Tisler-Kistler, friend of the show, comes on all the time. He's great. Says someone did the math. Man of Steel was 5 times the destruction of Avengers. Interesting.
Yeah, so that's why you got a lot of angry people who are like, get this alien off. And what's really interesting is that is sort of a little bit of a little callback to Superman Lives. What Nicolas Cage and Tim Burton were trying to get is that alien, that feeling that he's alone, he's an alien, he's an outsider. That's how I looked at like Superman Lives. That one thing that they never got in any of the movies was what a comic book reader would feel. They would be able to empathize with somebody who feels like an outcast who doesn't connect.
There's that one little bit, and I don't want to give too much about your movie away, but my favorite part, I think, of the whole film was when Nick Cage and Tim Burton are talking about developing the character of Clark and how Clark feels. And that is the Nick Cage. That was when it clicked with Nick Cage, because I'm like, oh, that's the guy. That's where Nick Cage plays into it.
Yes.
Totally.
How did you get that footage? How did you get to use the Nick Cage footage?
Yeah, how did you get Warner Brothers
I don't know.
capitulation?
I got that from Derek Fry, and that's not Warner Brothers footage. That's footage that was filmed by those guys.
But did you have to get some footage from Warner Brothers?
No, it's all fair use.
Wow.
It's by making a documentary and transforming the footage. You're not infringing on those rights. I've never said I own any of those.
What's going on?
I just realized how much fatter my finger is than everyone else. This is as far as it gets on my pinky. It's all the way.
Yeah, and I can't fit it on either.
All right, that's fair.
Yeah, I was feeling really hurt that I said that
Wow.
these were our friendship rings, and then you guys took them off.
What a great show it's been, huh, guys?
One of our best. No doubt.
Sorry that Kalinowski's not here to enjoy it with us, and Sizzler Kistler and other friends of the show. We're thinking of you in our hearts. Of course. Jon Schnepp, thank you so much for finally coming on the show.
Yeah.
Get the
what a
film.
treat this was.
Get the film.
Get the movie, guys.
Seriously.
Yeah, you guys can find me on Twitter just at Jon Schnepp or at TDOSLWH. And let me plug my thing again, www.tdoslwh.com.
And also, they can find you tonight on Schmoes after this.
Yeah, I'm doing the Schmoes Schmodown.
Ultimate
And you'll be seeing plenty of tweets from us, so you'll be...
Oh, right on. That was a lot of fun talking about DC Comics.
Awesome, guys.
You.
Yes, at Adam Gertler, watch, if you got a FYI, watch Men vs. Child tonight.
On Thursdays.
On Thursdays. children doing culinary battle against adult grown-up chefs. It's amazing. It's a great show. I'm so proud of it. And FX Movie Download on Fridays. Thank you.
Roxy.
You guys can find me everywhere at Roxy Striar.
Boom, at Jay Quasto. And if you live in Los Angeles, big blood drive, September 11 and 12 at the Children's Hospital of Los Angeles. Please hit me up on social media or call 323-361-2441 to donate. We're trying to get the entire entertainment community to make something amazing and to give as many pints of blood as we can for these kids. So please come donate.
I'm going to give you some blood.
Are you going to come?
I'm going to come.
Roxy,
I think I have to do it on the 9th. Because I have to fly out of town on the 10th, but I'm going to come with you.
I think she's doing it on the 9th.
That's what I mean. I'm going to give.
Let's all
Roxy.
do it together.
Yeah, we'll give some blood.
Party on.
Let's just do that blood thing together.
Sure.
Let's do that blood thing together.
Like
all
Billy
right.
Bob.
Do you bleed? Yeah, we do. All right, we love you guys. We'll see you next week.
Excellent.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network. The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.